that's not a very successful policy because the narcos, quite frankly, are the disposable element in the drug trade. The people that control the trade in Mexico is the political class, and in particular, the political parties. And so when you spend 35 years targeting narcos, well, cartels rise, cartels fall, kingpins rise, kingpins fall, nothing changes. Because the substrate upon which everything was built is La Plaza, the system that was created by the Mexican government under the Party PRI. Well, this system's been in place now for 50 years. Well, Abel Valencia with Los Queenies oversaw the money laundering apparatus for Sinaloa prior to 2010. After the fracture between Sinaloa and Jalisco broke away, they formed a new generation. Well, Los Queenies is now focused primarily on Jalisco's money laundering. And so when Abel Valencia was apprehended, the American government claimed that, hey, he's sitting on top of a network of 1,800 companies. Well, Abel Valencia, the guy with, modest education. I'm not suggesting the guy's not intelligent. I'm not saying he's not street smarts, but what he's not doing is going on LegalZoom.com, filing incorporation papers in 4 different countries for companies that have tens of millions of dollars going through. You have regulatory issues, tax compliance issues, legal issues. Well, it requires a network of attorneys, a network of financial professionals. That's the key to the drug trade. Because if you want to disrupt the drug trade in Mexico, you can do one of 3 things. Either 1, topple the Mexican regime. No one's talking about doing that. 2, you can put enough pressure on the Mexican government to where they perceive that it's in their interest to forego all this drug money in order to either preserve what they got or preserve their territory. Or 3, forget about the first 2, just undermine the money laundering networks that allow for the money to go from the narco class to the politicians. And so there was a famous circumstance involving a president in Mexico called Salinas, caused a huge scandal, maybe a little bit before your time, but right in the middle of what was going on with my case. Salinas was the president of Mexico, and it caused a big brouhaha because it turned out that his brother had Swiss bank accounts with $800 million in it. So how'd the president of Mexico's brother get $800 million fortune? Well, that was the money. That was the president of Mexico's cut from the drug trade. And so when the Secretary of Defense, the defense minister in Mexico, is discovered to be living in a $10 million high-rise, this is $10 million in 1997 dollars. That's $25 million high-rise today. So I'm sure generals make a pretty good living, but they don't make the kind of money to live in $25 million luxury high-rises. And so this is the circumstance in Mexico. And so if you want to disrupt that, without attacking the Mexican government, you have to disable the money laundering networks based out of Guadalajara that are always protected. So you're going to have the Jalisco New Generation's money laundering network that coordinates with the political class's money laundering network. Well, for the first time, the American government has in their possession someone whose operation dealt with the political class. Chapo Guzman didn't deal with the political class. He would never got extradited. When the guys who deal with the politicians get arrested, they don't survive the encounter. When the Mexican, when Obama insisted, go get me Arturo Beltran, the Mexican president said, aye, sir. Tells the military, go get Arturo Beltran. You think the defense minister is going to arrest Beltran? Arturo's the one paying him $60 million a year. You're not going to hand him over to the Americans. What if Arturo spills the beans? So then, of course, when the military went to go arrest Arturo Beltran, well, he resisted arrest. If you want to believe the Mexican narrative, he fought for 2 days, and the brave Mexican soldiers withstood the onslaught. And when they reported back to Mr. Obama, they said, sorry, sir, we apologize, but Arturo resisted arrest, and he was unalive during the attempted arrest.
So let me ask you, how significant is this Gonzalez Venezuela? How significant would this be if he does give them information? Would it dismantle a lot of the cartels because of the money laundering?
No, it dismantles the ability of the money to get from the narco organizations to the political class.
Got it.
That's the key. You have to break that connection because the political class, and in particular the political parties in Mexico, they're all pigs eating at the same trough. Even a politician that is relatively honest, there's no evidence indicating that Ms. Scheinbaum is involved in any criminal activity. but she's a political participant in the Morena party. Well, the American government said the Morena party under AMLO, her mentor, was rife with drug cash. Well, you don't think she knows which cartel butters her party's bread? And so that's the kind of dynamic you get in Mexico. And like I said, in the 1990s, the Tijuana cartel was the most powerful cartel in Mexico, working with the Gulf. Well, they were under the protection of the PRI. In the early 2000s, there was an election where a new party won the presidency. Well, when PAN won the presidency with Vicente Fox, the tables turned. That was the cartel that backed that particular party was Sinaloa. So once the rival political party wins and the tables turn, well, at that point, it's no fun when the rabbits got the gun. Now Tijuana gets smashed. Now the Gulf gets smashed. It's not the Mexican government smashing narcos. It's the Mexican government taking out the organizations that politically support the rival political party. And so the party that benefited, the cartel that benefited their ascendancy was Sinaloa. And I'm not sharing with you anything your audience doesn't already know, because in the last 6 months, you've interviewed people from the CIA. You actually spoke with one of it was a female, very intelligent, attractive blonde. And you asked her, hey, look, I just spoke to the former drug trafficker from LA. He said the CIA collaborates with some of the cartels. And her response was like, well, yeah. So she tried making it a little more palatable. We don't condone the drug trafficking. Like, okay, she has to make it a little more palatable. But she explained essentially that, look, whenever it's in the U.S. government strategic interest to do so, they'll partner up with a particular drug cartel. And according to the CIA woman, she said, look, the American government will support a particular cartel so long as that cartel is supporting the political party or the politician in Mexico that we want to win. Now, that's the real world. So if you want this particular politician to win, it's, well, who are the rival cartels supporting the rival parties? Target them.
I want to ask about money laundering real quick before I jump to something else that it's on my mind. But so the money laundering that's happening in Mexico, how does that work in America?